Hey guys, this is a demonstration from Ryan's latest tutorial. In this video, Ryan's going to be answering questions and talking about his career. If you'd be interested in seeing the full demo, check out the link in the description. It's included in a premium tutorial teaching the basics of drawing. It covers the basics of primitive shapes, inking, the human core, and lighting. On top of that, there are two other demos, one of a single figure illustration and another of an inked head. Alright, thanks. Now into the video. What's the most common mistake you see in portfolios?
The most common mistake I see when I'm critiquing portfolios is people are not using their fundamentals correctly. They think they are. They're trying to finish too fast. They're drawing and they're trying to finish this art piece too fast. So in their mind, wow, I want to create this absolute masterpiece, and I want to draw this and draw that, and I want to show it to my friends and show it to my mom and show this to my employer. So they're trying to get to the stage where they think their polished work is what's going to get them, and they're completely omitting their fundamentals, or they're losing track. They want to start off okay, but then they start to fall off, and then you can see it because they're not understanding how to place primitives in 3D space. Because when you understand how to place primitives in 3D space, that's going to help you completely eliminate all these issues that you're having. And then on top of that, after you understand how to place these primitives, then you will know how to skin those primitives, how to add style on top of those primitives. So learn your fundamentals first, because that's the number one issue that I've been seeing all throughout my entire career when I'm critiquing these portfolios from other students.
What's the best career advice you'd give to a young artist?
Best possible career advice I can give a young artist out there. There are two things that you're going to learn and you're going to take with you forever and forever. One of them is networking. The other one is your actual art skills, your raw art skills. Now, those two are the two things that you're going to take with you and are going to carry you all throughout this industry. Any direction you go, you're going to be networking and you're going to be using your art skills to prop yourself up, to make yourself look better. So you have to work on both. You have to work on networking, connecting with people, rubbing elbows, meeting the right folks, meeting the editors, the directors, the producers, the writers, those guys, the people out there who are the leaders or the initiators in these projects. So you want to be able to work with them and connect with them and do a good job so they can hire you again later in the future. The other thing you want to do is you want to work on your art skills. You have to have strong fundamentals. You have to have strong fundamental art skills. So if you have these fundamental art skills and people can see it, because they will pick up on it. They will be able to see just from your simple strokes how good you are. Yes, this person has really good skills. Get them on this job. That's what you want to do. You want to basically have a polished fundamental skills that you'll be able to prove and show just in simple strokes or in a final polished piece that you have the skills to produce the type of quality art that they're looking for. So you want to have both skills and networking.
Who are your biggest art influences?
My biggest art influences, I would have to say, number one, as we stand today, because my influences has shifted and changed throughout the years. What influences me is an artist that make me say, wow. An artist, when I look at their work, it makes me say, holy smokes, this person's outstanding. And it's a combination of that wow factor and what have they done for me in my art career as I've been growing and developing from as a youth till today. Jim Lee is my number one, I would say. He was the one who actually pulled me out of obscurity and just randomness, like who's this guy? Get him up here, type of thing. So when I came up and he got me into this industry. He actually pruned me into and crafted my skills into a certain direction, and I to this day I still use a lot of the techniques and skills that he's taught me. So I would have to say Jim Lee would be like my number one influence. So my other top four, we already heard of Jim Lee. So the other top four is Michelangelo. Michelangelo is an outstanding artist. Michelangelo was probably my first true hardcore art influencer once I saw his work and I saw what he was doing. And then later in life, when I found out he was doing these things when he was 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 years old, it absolutely blew my mind even further. So his skills and the stuff that he was doing at that time just absolutely blew my mind. So he's definitely in my top five. Another influencer that I've had is Salvador Dali. Salvador Dali, his work is just mind-blowing. And when I first saw I used to study his work, and when I first saw the actual work he did, and I saw the scale he was doing these things on, because the things he were doing were huge. They're the size of like buildings. And it just blew my mind even further. Like, how did this guy do this stuff? How is he capable of doing these paintings at this size and at this level with this quality? It just absolutely blew my mind. And the quality of work that he does and the way how he story tells with this surrealism, that's one of the things that really, really influenced me as a young artist. It made me think and made me want to mimic him as I was growing up. So these are all parts of these influencers that's out here. So another influencer that I've had is Kim Jung-gi. Kim Jung-gi, he's not just an outstanding artist and an influencer of mine, he's also a friend. I've done art demonstrations with him in the past on stage. I've hung out with him here and there. He's just a really cool guy, and when he was alive, and so these are the things that I cherish with me, and just look at his work that he was producing when we were hanging out together and just drawing together. These are some of the things that made me, hold these events and the quality of work that we produce together at the same time. It's near and dear to my heart, and it's something I'll always cherish and I'll always hold with me for the rest of my life. So his skills and his techniques and the stuff I've learned from him literally shifted gears in the way how I draw and how I approach art. That guy literally put a fork in my path, and now I've changed and I've crafted and I've forged my skills around the stuff that he's producing, the stuff that he's taught me throughout the years. The last influencer I can tell you guys about, who's in my top five. There's just others, but I'm only giving you my top five. She's a pretty young artist. When I first met her, I met her at 21, and she was already blowing my mind at 21. So she reminded me of Michelangelo when I saw her. Her name is Soy Milk. Soy Milk is absolutely amazing. And I happen to know her. I consider her a friend of mine also. She's in my top five artists, and basically for what she has achieved and what she can produce for her age, she's literally doing something 30 years beyond what she should be doing. And for her to be producing quality work at that level, at that age, blows my mind.
What were things that happened to you when you were younger that influenced your art?
So my early work and how it made me the artist today, I would say, because I remember when I was really young, I was in the 4th grade. I entered a Black History Month contest, and you had to draw someone from history, and I ended up drawing Reggie Jackson, the baseball player. And at that time, Reggie Jackson was still alive. I don't know if he's still alive today, but at the time he was still alive. And I came in second place. The only reason why is because Reggie Jackson was still alive. The guy who won first place wasn't as good as me, but he drew Benjamin Carver, and I didn't think about it at the time because I'm like in the fourth grade and I'm just doing portraits. I'm drawing what I wanted to, but that event made me think like, okay, I have a chance. If that's the only reason I didn't win is because I have a chance. So that was probably the earliest event in my life that made me think like, I think I can do this. I think I can build a career out of this. But I didn't know how. I didn't know what. I didn't know why. All I knew is that I like to draw. And then I remember when I was 12 years old, I was on the playground with a whole bunch of guys. We were just hanging out, playing as kids. And they were very unorganized. And I remember running around organizing these people, like, you guys do this and do that. And I remember thinking like, man, I feel like I'm in control of this, like I'm controlling a group of people. So I had that little seed planted in the back of my head. And that same day, we all had a conversation about what do we want to do as a career when we get older. And I remember telling those guys, I'm going to draw my own book. I'm going to make my own book. I didn't know draw. I just knew I was going to make my own book. And I thought I was going to be like a writer or just a publisher or something. I didn't know how. All I knew is that I wanted to make a book. And that was another seed that was planted in my head. And from that day, it's been like cooking in the back of my head. Make a book, make a book, make a book, make a book. And I would try drawing little Hulk comic books, little Spider-Man comic books, Batman comic books, Justice League comic books. I remember drawing, as I got older, I remember drawing a He-Man comic book. And then a Thundercats comic book. So this is all part of me just growing up and just practicing my craft. I want to draw these things. I want to make these books. I want to do these things. And then as I got older, I noticed that when I got to high school, I realized that I was pretty good at drawing art, because when I got there, I was like one of the 8 or 10 people in the entire school that was pretty good at drawing or just doing any kind of arts and crafts. And then we were so good that I remember my art teacher, her name was Terry Rigotti. I went to Stranahan High School in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. She saw that we were a group of students that were different from everyone else. So she created an AP art class around us. She pulled us out, and then that AP art class didn't start till we were like, I think I was a junior at that time. So I did it for my junior and my senior year. And then that alone really forged me as an artist. It took me from just being a random kid into being that like to draw and just be creative and do all these like, weird artsy things into a more art-minded type of craft, type of artist. And that helped me from everything from preparing for college to, entering art contests, to learning different art styles, to just you name it. Pretty much anything that was out there, we were forged, and we were mixed into this massive art bowl and just learning all these different arts and crafts. And that was probably like the number one thing that helped me develop my art skills, or realize I have these art skills and I can do something with this. And then when I got to college, that pattern kept going. I got to the point where I was out of the top 3 artists in the entire school. I remember that moment when I was in school and I got that call from Jim Lee saying, hey, I really like your work. I want you to come work with me. It was almost like there were these events that were snowballing, that was coming in, but I didn't see it at the time. And then once they hit, it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. And next thing you know, I'm seeing other events around me happening, and these massive art events, and they just kept taking me to these certain areas and these certain places. But I didn't settle for anything. I kept pushing myself and taking my skills to the next level. So that pattern of me learning something and not settling or just platforming to the point where I'm comfortable with it. I always stayed in this uncomfortable range where there's always an artist better than me and I need to one-up them. So that's kind of the mentality I had as I was growing up, as I was learning my craft and just immersing myself within this medium. So in time, I realized, yeah, there are people who are better than me. You're constantly striving to be there. So slowly, I had this little seed that was growing in the back of my head, and then it grew to the point where it was pretty big, and I didn't even realize how big it was until I got older and I look back like, wow, where did I come from? And all these things that I've learned throughout the years. And the one thing I always told myself as I was developing throughout the years is to stay humble, don't burn bridges, and don't miss deadlines. Those are like the top things that I've learned throughout my career as you're going. And always don't get satisfied to the point where you're just flatlining and you've platformed you've gotten to the point where you feel like you don't need to grow anymore. Like I know everything. No, you don't know everything. There's always one person who's better than you, and you have to keep pushing yourself. So the last thing I would probably say to that, is, because I always tell people don't get comfortable, is that you want to be able to learn as much as you can throughout this industry. If you feel like you want to be a comic artist, great, be the best comic artist that you can, but don't stop there. Learn to be a 3D artist, learn to be a concept artist, learn to be a cover artist, learn to paint, learn different crafts, because this is all come back and help you in the future, because at some point in 20, 30, 40 years down the road, you're going to be using all those skills as you're working on in your comic book world, as on your comic craft, and you're developing all these books and these covers and these ideas that you have, because the platform that you're using to plug yourself into the world will change. It won't always be digital. It won't always be print. So in 20 years, it's going to be different. We might be watching comic books on our watches in 10, 20 years. So you have to be able to learn and change and adapt to these things as you're moving on. So that's probably the best advice I could give people out there. And just never ever give up your fundamentals, and don't ever give up the pencil and paper. Digital is cool, but don't give up the pencil and paper, because there's something raw about it that you're missing out if you're going to stick to 100% being a digital artist. You're missing out on something. You have to learn and practice the craft, the raw craft of this entire industry. You have to take that with you, because at some point, Photoshop will die, your computer will die, but your pen and paper will never die. It's going to be there forever and ever. 100 years from now, it's still going to be here. So learn that and stick with that, and learn and just be the best that you can with that.
What's it like working with the legends of comics?
The legends of comics, wow. So it's mind-blowing, honestly. Every time I think about it, why me? That's probably the number one question that comes to me. Because take away my art, I'm just a guy that happened to know how to do this craft. So because of this, I guess my personality connects me with some of these folks. But when I'm in this group and I'm hanging out, or I'm interacting, or I'm meeting some of these people, Like I met Frank Miller the other day, and my mind was like blown away. Like I'm like hanging out with Frank Miller over here. And, you know, it was these things here are some of the things that make you say, like, why me? You know, out of all these artists in the world, all these people in the world, why me? Why am I getting chosen to do these certain things? So it still blows my mind to this day that these things still happen to me to this day. But it's fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world. I would not want to be a banker or anything. I'm not knocking bankers or anything. I just prefer not to do anything else but draw. This is where my heart, this is where my soul is, and I love doing this. This is me. This is my essence. This is who I am. I'm an artist to my core, and this is what I truly, truly enjoy doing. Is just drawing, hanging out with other like-minded artists that's out there. And it doesn't really matter about status, honestly. It's more about the art for me. But when I'm around some of these like mega stars who are doing these things, it takes me to another place. Like, wow, I kind of step away from that picture a little bit, and I'm looking at it like, wow, this is crazy. This is this guy right here. This is this girl right here. And sometimes they look at me like that. They look at me like, oh, this is Ryan over here. But I never let that get to my head, because to me, my ground is the art, the fundamentals of art, the fact that I can pick up a pencil and express myself on a sheet of paper.
Thanks again for watching. Be sure to check out Ryan's Gumroad account. If you do decide that you want to buy it, for the first 10 of you that use the code DRAWING, you'll be getting 30% off. Also, if you haven't already, click that like button. It really does help with the channel and will let us make more content like this.